Hey everyone, welcome back to another video for my Christmas series for 2022, and today we are finally going to be taking a look at this, which is the NECA Predator 2 Ultimate Warrior Predator. Now, I know that I'm a little late to the game with this one. I've actually had this figure for quite some time now, since early October, but I just haven't had the chance to get around to reviewing it, so I hope you guys will forgive me for that. But yeah, really excited for this one. I haven't really had it out of the packaging much. It's I've taken a look at it, and then put it back in, saved it for the review. So here we are. I'm just as excited as you guys are. I want to take a look at this. So let's start off with the box. So as normal, you've got this amazing artwork which NECA always gives us, which gives a very good representation of the character. You can see he's stomping on some kind of creature down there in this very kind of swamp planet in the rain. It looks awesome, absolutely love it. On the side you've got Predator 2 with the traditional background that we've seen on all of the other figures. We have number 6 in the line, which is the Ultimate Warrior Predator. On the back you've got these very awesome publicity images of the figure and also the other figures available in this wave, plus a description. If you guys want to pause to read that, you can. And then same on the other side and on the top. And then on the bottom, just credits to the people behind the figure and the companies. And then if you open the box, we've got another awesome publicity image of the figure, as well as the figure displayed very neatly in this window box along with all of his accessories, and with the Predator 2 spaceship as the background. So yeah, if you guys have collected other figures in this line, you'll know what this packaging is about. So let's not dilly-dally, let's get this awesome figure out of the box. Alrighty, so here is the Warrior Predator out of the packaging, and I have to say, first impressions, he has a very awesome look to him. If you guys have seen the previous figures in this wave, despite their slight differences, they all tend to have a very similar colour scheme, except for maybe the Borg Predator, which was the first release. That was kind of a sort of Christmas green and red, but I'm very happy to see a Predator that has a really different kind of deco to him. This is a very quite striking mix of light blues and darker, more navy blues over a sort of silver and copper like armor, which is very cool. I absolutely love his biomask, which of course gives him the nickname Ram Predator, and I just really love his color scheme overall. So it follows a very similar armor design to all of the other Predators in this wave, which, as I'm sure you all know, this wave is basically just part reuse after part reuse. They all share exactly the same body, except for the greyback, which is why I can't wait to see that figure when that comes out. But they're all using the City Hunter body, so if you guys have the Ultimate City Hunter, in terms of articulation and sort of parts and armor, you pretty much know what to expect here. So the articulation is exactly the same as all of the other figures. Now, I'm just going to say that unfortunately with mine, I have got a bit of a wonky head. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but I can't quite articulate it as well as I would like to, and it almost seems to be a bit floppy. So I'm going to see if I can try and fix that, but I can't really move the head down as much as I normally can with Predator figures. I can move it a good way up, which is nice, and he does have the side-to-side motion and the rotation, but yeah, it's just a little bit loose, which is a shame. Not loose that it would just pop off, but just not quite as tight as it is on my other Predator figures. But it could be worse. Even the center point is a little bit shaky, but like I say, nothing severe, like no arms are broken off, no legs are broken off, and all of the joints function, which is good. However, that wasn't the case when I took them out of the box. In fact, with both this figure and the Shaman Predator, I actually had to detach his legs and sort of reattach them just to get the legs to be able to move. So yeah, that wasn't very fun. NECA and their quality control with these Predator 2 style Predators is not great. I've actually done a video on this, and I know some of you might pull this up. I did say that if they didn't fix these god-awful ball joints, I wouldn't be buying any more. Well, I suppose you can call me a hypocrite if you want to, because I have gone and bought them. But, I want to review them for you guys. And I feel like, I've got 6 out of the, I think there's 9 of them in total. So I just feel like I may as well complete the wave at this point. But I almost feel like NECA is counting on that. They kind of just know, well, if you've bought this many, you're going to buy the rest of them, so we won't have to make any improvements. I'm very torn about this, but there are some things about this figure that I really like, but there are also some other things that I'm genuinely disappointed in. The biggest one is that they haven't updated the articulation on this body. I've shown this off in previous videos. You guys know they are using the proper ball peg joints now. And it's just a shame that for some reason with their Predators, they still haven't made that update yet. Now, one reason I'm looking forward to the greyback is because the Jungle Hunter body doesn't seem to have as many issues as this body does, the City Hunter one. But like I say, there's a whole video where I go into great depth about this, so you can check that out if you want to. It's my NECA Guardian Predator review plus rant, so I go into great detail in that one, but I won't bother going into it again in this one. So we'll just take a quick look at the articulation. So for both his arms, you can actually bring them out to 90 degrees, which is great. Now, obviously, it is going to be a little hindered on the right side because of this rubber piece, but because it's attached to the arm here, you do still have a little bit of flexibility there. You have a full 360 at both of the biceps, and unlike the Jungle Hunter, you don't have any of those annoying cables, so you have a full range of motion on both arms. Obviously, a bit hindered on this one because of the armor attached to it, but yeah, a lot more motion than the Jungle Hunter. You have a full 360 rotation at the gauntlets, a double bend at the arms so you can bring them right the way up, which is really nice. You can move the hands forward and back and do a full 360 on those. Just be careful of the blades on this side. There is an ab crunch joint, but mine is very, very tight. But you can rotate with that and go forward and back. So I'd recommend you heat that up a little bit if you're struggling. There's a full rotation at the waist, and it is on a ball joint, so you can lean forward and back. Unfortunately, though, a common problem with this is it does tend to be a bit loose on some of the figures, and that's another thing I think NECA need to fix. Obviously, you've got the ball-jointed legs, so you can bring them out to the side. Just be careful of the rubber pieces. You can also swivel them when it actually works, which is really nice. You can kick the legs right the way forward, although because the legs are both attached, I find it's a bit difficult to move one of the legs, and it's a lot easier to move the other one. That's how this very bad joint seems to work. You have a double bend at the knee, which you can bring it surprisingly far back, but obviously the armor will hinder it from going any further. And then you have ball joints at the foot, so you can kind of move them from side to side, forward and back, or whichever way you like. There is also a little bonus thing on the wrist gauntlet where you can actually open up the panel, and it has been painted on the inside, which is really, really nice. You can see the little details there, and that's held in by a teeny tiny little plastic peg. And I'm just going to warn you about this now, guys. It has a tendency to fall out, so luckily it hasn't on mine, but on one of my other Predator figures it did, and the thing just kind of came off. So yeah, just be very, very careful with that. I recommend that you don't move it too much. And there is also articulation on the little shoulder cannon. Now, it is supposed to be able to go back on this little rail thing, which I can kind of get it to work. I can get it to go back here, but I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't think I've ever been able to get this thing to work on any NECA Predators that I bought, to be honest, so I kind of just leave the cannon where it is, but it is on a ball joint, so it can move up and down and side to side however you want. My one complaint about it is just a little bit too close to the mask for my liking, especially when you're trying to put the blast effect on. But yeah, it is good, and the detail is very great. Also, obviously, what Predator would be complete without extendable gauntlets? Now, I am just going to say the City Hunter ones don't seem to come out as far as the Jungle Hunter ones. That's just something I've noticed. It only comes out a couple of centimeters really, but it's nice that they give you that option nonetheless. So yeah, overall, Like I say, it's everything that you already know. Like, if you've seen any of the Predators from this Predator 2 line, you already know the articulation. It tends to really just be the helmets and, you know, the accessories and maybe some little bits of the armor that they adjust slightly, but overall it is exactly the same body. So turning to accessories now, we'll get the basics out the way. We have some interchangeable hands. This hand here is specifically sculpted to hold his disc, and this hand is sculpted to hold his more staff-like accessories, which you can just slide in through the fingers. Be careful when you're doing it, because, you know, if you apply too much pressure, I imagine the fingers would stand a chance of breaking, so just be careful with that. And lastly, you just have this very clenched up hand, which can't hold anything, guys. Don't try and force anything in there. But that's really just to go on his right side. That's really just to go on his right side gauntlet to be more of a sort of slashing hand. So yeah, it's nice that they include it. And all of these interchangeable hands have been painted really, really nicely. They all carry on the same colours and patterns that you see on the rest of the Predator. So very, very good, and it's very nice that they include them there. Obviously, as said, you do get this open disc here and a closed version, which can also be slotted into the little pouch here, and to do that you kind of just line up the little pattern holes and then just try and slide it in if you can. I will say it is easier to do on some Predators than it is on others, but once you get it in there it will look something like this. So it's a great way to store your accessory, you know, just so you don't have to keep it in an accessory tray. I always love when you can keep accessories actually on the figures themselves, so that's really cool. As I've said, you do get a closed version of the combi stick, which has all of the details on there, as well as an open version, which is really, really cool. Now, unfortunately, these things always seem to warp in the packaging. As you can see, it's not fully straight in there, which is really, really annoying. And, you know, NECA, I think you guys need to come up with a better way of storing these, because every time that you store them, they always end up getting warped. And don't try and fix this without boiling water, because that will snap very easily. It's very fragile, but the paint on it's really nice. And to be honest, I don't think I would be displaying my Predator with this anyway, but it's nice that they included it. What I would be displaying this one with is this, which is an accessory that is exclusive to this Predator specifically, and that is this gigantic sort of combi stick axe. And yeah, it's bigger than the figure itself, so this is very, very cool. It's got this really nice silver metallic wash all over it just to make it nice and shiny. You've also got these coppery bronze areas just to keep in with the pattern. I really, really love that. So this area is kind of like a spike sort of thing, and then you have this giant axe, which is just awesome. Like, honestly, it's just it's not enough to hurt anyone, but still just be careful when using it, and also try not to bend it so much, as it could be slightly fragile. But yeah, I'll definitely do some great poses with him with this thing later on. And then it comes with an awesome other accessory in the form of this bendable mace, which is awesome. It does have a bendy wire in it, so you can shape it into whatever way you want to, and it's not very, very strong, but it does the job well enough. And as you can see, it's got the little holes in there, so it does have a bendy wire. It's got a nice kind of silvery brushing over the sort of copper brown colour, and yeah, it's a very unique accessory. So like I say, that can be slotted into this hand, and you can very happily display him holding it. So very, very awesome. As a little added bonus, he also does come with these little things, which I believe are the net launchers. Here you have the closed net launcher and the open net launcher, and these can be attached onto his left-hand side gauntlet, and all you do is just line up the shape of the little piece at the front, and then just clip it on, and it sits on there very nicely. If I'm being honest with you guys, I tend to forget that this thing is even on here, because it's such a tiny little attention to detail. It's nice that they include it nonetheless. In fact, it just goes to show you how much thought they really do put into these figures. But like I say, this is something that's present on all City Hunter bodies, and as you can see, that's what it looks like when it's open. I tend to just go for the closed version, because it just kind of fills in that strange looking gap in the wrist. And yeah, like I say, it does sit on there relatively well, and I just kind of forget that it's even there, but it's a nice inclusion nonetheless. Also included is the blast effects for the cannon, and what I do love about this is instead of the typical orange that we're used to, this is a more blue, a bit like the Jungle Hunter, which does match his skin colour very, very nicely. So to attach this, you just line up the shape of the back here with the shape of the cannon, and that should be able to sit on very, very nicely. Now, I will just say be careful when doing this because the cannon on this specific designer Predator is very small, so you don't want to break that, and it will just sit on there really nicely, and then you've got yourself a very awesome blast effect which you can add on, and I really like it. I love that they went with blue because obviously it goes with the sort of deco of this Predator, and it is the first time I've seen this specific type of blast effect in this colour, so that's really, really cool. And if you see, it starts off with a more purpley blue and then has a sort of more ocean blue brushed over the top, so that's very, very cool. Really like that. Another inclusion are these two skulls that are all bloodied up, and one of them is also attached to a spine, so that's very, very cool. Very, very great detail in these. As far as I can tell, they're exactly the same skull, but on one of them a spine has just been plugged into this bit here, and as you can see, they're still quite bloody, so they have this kind of red brushing over the top, but also a sort of cream brushing. And I also love how the blood has been speckled on. It's not really coming up on camera too well, but it has just been speckled on, so it's really been done very well. And honestly, this could be used to build a very horror-based display. You know, if you guys have big displays for your NECA figures, these could be used in various other different ways, you know, just to really build your display. And when collecting these Predator figures, they do come with quite a few of these, but this one more than the others. So this is very, very cool, and I'm very, very happy that they thought to include these. And last but ever so not least, what would an Ultimate Predator release be without the option to have the unmasked head? So once again, continuing that very, very awesome Predator 2 design, but with an entirely different paint deco. This is the first time I've ever owned a Predator in this colour scheme. I must admit, I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the purple in the mouth. It just looks a bit too cartoony for me, and it doesn't translate well into the paint. I will say, however, the eyes are painted especially well on this figure. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. I'm just going to try and get it into the light as best as I can, but they are actually quite shiny, and they are really well done. Unfortunately, my Shaman Predator's eyes are a little bit off-center, but I have to say this one is significantly better. I also love how the patterns on the head almost seem to be metallic. It really does give it this sort of wet look and more like an actual creature, and I really, really like that. The teeth have been painted really neatly, there's no paint bleeds, and even the little cuffs around the dreadlocks. Now, something that I have noticed about this Predator in particular is his dreadlocks seem to be significantly smaller than other Predators in this line, and just Predators in general. So at first I thought it might be a problem with my figure, but then I realised no, that is just his design. And if you do want to swap the heads, it's simple enough. You simply just pop his helmeted head off to reveal this ball peg joint, take this head, try and push the dreadlocks out because when you get it from the packaging, they're very crumpled together, and then just very, very gently just wiggle the head on. And then here you have this very awesome looking unmasked Predator, so very, very cool. Obviously this is standard for a lot of the Ultimate Predators, but I really, really do love this biomask. In fact, we're actually just take a quick closer look at it while we're here, so you can see why he definitely gets the nickname Ram. I have to say this might actually be my favourite biomask in the entire wave. It's very, very cool. I love this sort of pattern it has on it. The texture is really good, as expected by all NECA sculpts at this point. I love the attention to detail here. I love the eyes. I just think it's so well done. And then you've got the Predator head underneath, which is very neatly painted, and all of these little cuffs around the dreadlocks, they're all neatly painted as well. It's very, very awesome. I absolutely love this biomask. If I'm being honest, as much as I do like this alternate head, I think the mask is definitely the way I'm going to be displaying this figure personally. So overall, what do I think of this Predator? In spite of the few issues that I've had, I really like him. I have to say, I'm a huge fan of his design, and I think when you have him lined up with the other Predators, which unfortunately is something I can't quite do at the moment because I'm renovating my bedroom and a lot of things has been packed away, but I can say that when you do have him lined up against the other Predators, he does stand out very much due to his very unique colour scheme and his absolutely awesome biomask, and of course the inclusion of this awesome axe and mace, some very unique accessories for this Predator. I would highly recommend that you pick this guy up if you haven't already, and if you're like me and you've been collecting the entire Predator 2 Ultimate line, this is a must-have. What can I say? Unfortunately, mine does have a few QC issues, but honestly, it could be worse, and this figure as a whole still comes in fairly solid, so overall I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10, which I think is being really generous. I think, there are a couple of issues with this figure, as I've said, but overall, I don't regret my purchase, and I really like it. So, thanks ever so much for watching, guys. Stay safe and happy wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.